This episode of Bulletproof Cash Flow is brought to you by Realty Dynamics. Learn how people like you can build substantial passive income while creating wealth for the long term through real estate investing. Visit rdyne.com. That's RDYNE.com.
If I lost my job today and I got to move yesterday, or I'm in a huge rush, I'm going to call on these letters I get. And it's going to be basically calling a pawn shop. You take your Rolex to a pawn shop, you're not getting 100 cents on the dollar. You're not getting even 90% of what that Rolex is worth. You might get 10 cents on the dollar. So as far as ethical, at the end of the day, we just make sure that they know, look, we're going to buy and sell this thing for a profit. Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to sell to me? Because I am an investor and I'm not going to live on this property. I'm not going to live on this piece of land. We're here to make a profit.
Working because you want to, not because you have to, is financial freedom. And we want to help you create that. Welcome to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We're going to teach you how to achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host is a multifamily syndicator and property developer. He's done deals reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You'll hear from experts in all aspects of real estate investment, finance, development, and management. Everything you need is right here. This is the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. And this is your host, Augustino Pintus.
Hey everyone, it's Augustino. Getting into wholesaling and land flipping can be a huge opportunity for investors, but many people are scared of it. Now, today's guest has done many a land play and helps others get in on the game. He's an investor and a coach with a focus on buying and selling vacant land. Now, in a very short time frame, he was able to expand his business, hire a team, and also spend time with his family all at the same time. But while he invests in many other types of real estate, his favorite is investing in vacant land. Now, using his TTP system, he has bought and sold thousands of properties across the country and has taught aspiring real estate investors how to do the same thing. Now, with all that, I'd like to welcome Brent Bowers to the show. Brent, buddy, thanks for coming on, man.
What's going on, Augustino? Thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, guys, if you like what Brent has to say, you can reach him via his contact page at thelandsharks.com. Okay, Brent, go ahead and tell listeners a little bit about your journey. How'd you get started in all this?
Yeah, absolutely. I started in 2007, got my real estate license because I thought that's what we needed to be a successful real estate investor. One of my sister agents that was actually training me with Exit Realty, she got a listing like the next week, and I put an offer on that thing. I thought that's what we did as real estate agents. Like, I was going to buy that thing. So I bought it, got into my first rental, and then hit the ground running. And 2008 happened for us, and I was beating my head against the wall. Ultimately, I started driving tenants around to houses in South Florida, and the landlords were so stinking cheap, they wouldn't even run the air conditioners. And I'd have to get there like 30 minutes ahead of time, get all the humidity out of the house, and, fan the stinky smells from the animals and spray the Lysol just to make $300 in a week if I was lucky. And this is like early 2009 at this point. So I kind of had bad timing. So I was like, man, there's got to be something better than this. So I joined the military to go back to school. Did a couple back-to-back deployments, but I still had that real estate itch when I got pulled back out of overseas tours in 2013 to be an Army officer, and just started buying rentals again. And ultimately, man, this is I'm racking up debt. I'm racking up all this debt on Amex and Capital One, and this is for the birds. And I'm actually at 4 rentals by this point, and I wholesaled a couple houses to pay some bills. And I started doing more and more of that while I was moving across the country with the military. And that was also a lot of work, especially trying to keep up with the Army's pace and then also do the house wholesaling. And, I started searching for more answers, listening to things like the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show, things like a podcast. And I was like, I need cash flow. These quick flips are cool. The rentals are all well and good. Maybe 30 years from now, they'll be paid for. And it helps me on my tax write-offs. I was paying like no taxes, by the way, because all I was doing was taking losses with cost segregations and, buying these properties. But I need cash flow. And I heard a guy talking about buying this land and flipping it overnight and doubling and tripling his money. I just jumped right into it. Started seller financing my land deals on the second one. And that second one I sold for a monthly payment of $400 a month was covering my truck payment. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off for me, like the epiphany. And I just kept doing it. And then I'd run out of money. So I'd have to flip a parcel of land or assign the contract. And then I'd do it again. Before I knew it, I had about $9,000 a month coming in of payments. And I just really ran with it. So
Nice.
That's kind of the backstory.
Nice. So with the single families, do you still do single families then, or you're done with all that?
Oh, man. I've got about 5 dogs that we're taking out back and shooting right now because we got a little crazy in last December. A year ago. Goodness gracious. Not to date the podcast, but we bought 7 properties, and one of them was like 37 acres. And I had 3 crews that were going to renovate them. Boy, all 3 of those crews are gone. As far as contractors. So we're still stuck with about 4 of them. And I say stuck, basically the land business is supporting the failing house business.
Wow.
So I'm sure you don't have too many guests talking about all their mistakes and errors, but I sure have made a lot of them. And most of them were in houses.
Hey, you know what? That's the thing. I mean, people learn from the mistakes, right? There's people that'll say that if you only own 2, 3, 4, 5 houses, you're making a big mistake. The only way you make money at houses is if you own 50, 60, 100 of them. Right, that's when you start to have the ones that are good make money to support the ones that are bad. Right, that's really what it is. And I don't know what the ratio looks like. We primarily do multifamily, but it's like I have to imagine that if you have a bunch of these dogs, if all of them are dogs, that's a huge drain on the credit cards, right? that's why you're paying for everything, right? I imagine.
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean we're paying with the cash that comes in every single day with the land business. But, my CFO goes, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You've got to turn the switch off. And there was a time when we made great money flipping houses, but, we just ultimately got stuck with several in the bag or on the balance sheet that should have been moved off around June. And then what happened in July? Interest rates went up, so we got stuck. So we're just unloading them.
Yeah, I think right now, at least in this market anyway, in the Cleveland market, we're seeing houses drop. They dropped like 20% already, or even more in some cases. So a lot of these potential flips have definitely come down in price. And
they're now rentals.
Right, they're rentals now. Yeah, exactly. And where are you at again?
I'm in I said West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach was part of that backstory. Vero Beach, Florida.
Vero Beach, yeah. So in Florida, I imagine the same sort of thing happened over there, right?
Yeah, and most of these properties I'm talking about are in Colorado. Because we just moved to Florida about a year and a half ago. I got out of the military in Colorado, so that's ultimately where I started my business. And that's basically where the land business started in the houses, and just started focusing more on land because the return on investment was so much easier, so much better. And you talk about 60 houses, that just made me a little nervous. Like I couldn't imagine having 60 tenants or 60 different sets of tenants in different places, different locations.
Yeah, you need, that's why, I mean, not that I'm going to turn this into a house show here, but if you're going to do that play, my opinion, got to keep them somewhat close so it's easier to manage and keep an eye on things and get some sort of scale, right? That's the only way, in my opinion anyway, in doing single families. But just like I said, now your land business is supporting the houses, which is kind of interesting, right? So tell us a little bit about that. So it sounds to me that the land business can pretty much be just about anywhere, because I think it sounds to me like you're just hanging on to the land and then flipping it, and your owner financing basically, right?
Yeah, we have pretty much 3 disposition methods or sales methods. We're either going to assign the contract to a cash buyer or a builder or a developer like yourself or a flipper that's tired of flipping ugly, stinky cat pee houses and wants to build from the ground up. Or we'll just buy the property, buy the piece of land, and list it with our realtor or one of our land specialist realtors in the area. It doesn't really matter where you're doing this at. I'm in Florida, Arizona, Colorado, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Indiana. And I didn't start there. I started in Colorado. That's where I originally started, where I was currently boots on the ground located. And then the third disposition method or sales method that I love the most is getting a down payment and a monthly payment. Because Americans, we think, how much is it going to cost me each month? And you do so my first several were like 18-month loans, 12-month loans, and I got into 36, then I got to like 72 months. I'm playing with the 30-year mortgages now. I love it because the banks really understand 30-year mortgages. They like if you look at an average $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest over 30 years, you're paying back $420,000. That's not 6%. And the first 10 years is all interest anyways. So ultimately, I'm doing longer term loans. Like one of these properties, one of my parcels of land, it's actually about to sell. The buyer is selling it to someone else. And we're moving my loan over to the new buyer at 12% interest. It's $128,000. It's only paid down like $4,000 in the last 2.5 years. And if this new buyer makes 60 payments, I'm going to collect $60,000 in interest only, period. And that's just one land deal.
Wow. That's very nice. And that land is located where?
This one's in Okeechobee, Florida.
Okay, nice. So what sort of things do you have to keep an eye out for then when you're looking at land? Because I imagine that, especially in Florida, a lot of swamp out there, a lot of wetlands. It's like you don't really know what you're getting. So how do you know what you're getting your hands on? How do you know what you're looking at? Hey, Augustino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 844-428-1344 to receive weekly book recommendations from me.
Yeah, no, it's true because that 14 acres I'm talking about actually butts up to a protected cypress swamp. Next weekend, me and my father are going to get on the side-by-side and go check out several parcels that are, you know how there's landlocked land? This one's locked by water. So hey, we're going to check out some highlands. But you need an all-terrain vehicle or a swamp buggy to get to it. And people love that stuff. Here's the thing, though. You got to buy it at a massive discount. You got to get a discount because that's the ultimate thing. Does it perk? No, it's flooded. Is it in wetlands? Yes. Is there an access road to get to it? Because all these things you got to look at because it would take the value down, and you've got to see what other parcels are selling for around it. If nothing's selling around it, that's our biggest indicator. I'm not going in that area. Now, if there is, I generally want to get it for less than 50 cents on the dollar because here's the thing, at 50 cents on the dollar, I know that I've got an asset, or maybe I'm going to have a lender, or my mother-in-law is going to lend to me. I want to protect her money. If I get hit by a bus or something, I want her to have an asset that she lent on at 50 cents or less on the dollar. So those are some of the things we look for.
But what do you do with that land then, aside from selling it? What does someone practically do with that land specifically? You can't build on it sounds like then, right?
Yeah. No, not unless you're building a tree house or something, or a house on stilts you're doing in the Keys. Let's just talk about my first land deal.
Yeah.
The first one I bought for $285 from a retired CPA. He's the one that gave me the price on that. He's like, Brent, I've been paying the back taxes for so many years. You can have it for $285. He told me where it was at, and I was like, I got to go check this out because I have no clue what I'm getting into. I was worried. I was scared. Like we talked about before we hit the record button, a lot of people are scared to take action. I was scared. I'd already owned multiple rental properties, flipped multiple houses, and signed multiple contracts. But I was scared because I was like, what is the catch? I'm about to buy a piece of land for $285. So I looked at it, and I called the real estate office that was just down the hill, not even a mile away. And I was talking to the realtor on a Saturday. I was like, what do you think this thing would sell for on the MLS? I want the blowout price. I want the get it done now price because I can't leave my money into this very long. And at that time, I had some credit cards to pay off because I had just did this huge mailing on a bunch of houses in Colorado Springs, and nothing happened. So I needed to pay that credit card off. And it was an Amex, so you pay it off each month, or the one I had anyways. So she goes, I don't know what the blowout price is, but I've seen them go for $10,000 in the MLS. And I was like, okay. So I was like, sounds like a done deal to me. I'll let you know when I buy it. And so I hung up the phone with her, thanked her for her time. She called me right back and said, hey, what if I bought it from you? I said, sure, what do you want to pay? She said, $5,000. I said, okay, send me the contract. So she sent me the contract that Saturday. I signed it. Tuesday, I went and paid the CPA, got a quit claim deed, which I don't recommend, do title search and all that stuff. And then I brought that quit claim deed to the title company on Tuesday night and went and picked up my cashier's check on Wednesday for $5,000. So what's she doing with it? She's still holding it. She's speculating. Those parcels are selling for like $25,000-$30,000 now. Yeah. They're building like $1 million homes on this region that it's looking over the Pike National Forest. The second parcel was completely landlocked, and I didn't know what to do with that one. Because I was like, who the heck's going to even get to this property? You got to trespass against state land. And I just disclosed it in the Craigslist ad. I got $500 down, which that's what I pay for the land, and $400 a month. And I don't know what he's done with it. Probably nothing. Most of the parcels these guys just buy and pay for.
That's so strange.
Well, it's, I don't think it's strange. I think a lot of people want to own a piece of America.
Yeah.
And most of my buyers, they're like paycheck to paycheck. They're not like rolling the dough, but they can afford $300, $400, $500, $600 a month.
Yeah. Do you ever get into trying to spot land and lock up land that developers could possibly buy? Like, how do you go about getting your hands on that stuff?
Like on the path of growth? Absolutely. I mail it all the time. And there's been a few that I've gotten a hold of. And, we just put it out there. We put out signs. We list it on Craigslist and the MLS and all that. And they will pay a pretty penny for it. And, why would someone sell us that land in the path of growth at such a discount? Because they either inherited it or they didn't want it, or they live in another state, sometimes another country. And they've been paying back taxes, and they were going to one day build a cabin on it or a house. But life just happened. Their kids went to college, and then those kids had babies and their grandparents and, all those things. But yeah, we get those from time to time. I like to shoot for base hits, as one of my mentors used to say. And sometimes you hit home runs. And if you look enough, you'll hit them once a week.
I think that's the thing. It's the same thing that happens in multifamily, and the same thing that happens in any deal, really, is you're looking at a lot of deals to find one that actually works. So I think it sounds to me like the same thing applies on land, right? It's the same thing. Yeah, same sort of thing.
We're sending out a lot of, I call them LOLs, land offer letters. These are actually offer letters with a specific price. We send out quite a few. Right now, my numbers are around every 800 or so, I get a deal that's going to make me a great return on investment.
And that return, I assume, is covering the mail, the cost of mailing and everything, the postage, paper, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm assuming you have assistants that are handling some of the inbound calling, right?
Oh, yeah, because, that's the thing I'm not good at. I am not good at follow-up, which that'll make you or break you in this business. So, yeah, I prefer them not to call. I send them a piece of paper. It's a purchase agreement with the exact amount that we will pay on it. And I really want them to sign it and fax it or scan it and email it or put it in snail mail and send it back. But it's like, you got to put a phone number on there, because some of those people will call just to make sure, is this legit? I won't take this, but I'll take that. And so, yeah, the phone does ring, and I have people help me with that for sure.
Nice. Maybe talk a little bit about that setup. So how does that work then? Because I know you help other people get into this space. And I'm guessing, or maybe you can even talk a little bit about it. When you set up this system, it's a system that you guys are packaging up and really selling, so to speak, to other folks who want to get in on this, right?
Yeah, I teach people how to build businesses around what I've done in land. Build businesses that will serve you and others, and just allow you to quit your job or whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's just, I show people exactly what we're doing in my company. So right now we will go and pick an area. How do we pick an area? So the first place I go to is like Zillow or Redfin. I want to see what's selling, because I'm not going to go into an area where there's no land selling, because that shows me there's no demand. I want to go where there's demand already at. And then I'm going to click on every single one of those, like Zillow yellow dots, the solds, or on Redfin, the land parcels that sold. And I'm going to click on each one of them, and I'm going to see what actual size parcel is selling, because that tells me the area there's demand, as well as what size parcel is in demand. And then I'm going to go to like PropStream and pull a list of people that own those size parcels in that zip code or that neighborhood to really micro it down. And if I really want to get crazy and get the lowest hanging fruit, like the CPA that sold me that first parcel and also the second parcel, those were tax delinquent, about to hit 3 years in Colorado. So these guys were about to lose this land anyways. And when they got my postcard, they're like, yeah, take it. I don't care. I'm about to lose it anyway. So I had to pay back taxes. But that's kind of what we do. And they'll sign it and send it back. Or we'll get it sometimes and we're like, oh crap, we offered too much. So we have to call and renegotiate this thing.
Interesting. So, some people listening might say, well, you're taking advantage of somebody, blah, blah, blah. Is there an ethical way of doing wholesaling?
You know, at the end of the day, yes, I believe you can absolutely provide someone the speed and convenience for a portion of their equity. These guys aren't stupid. They know what it's worth. That CPA knew what the land was worth. You know, the second lady that I bought that parcel for $500, you know, her porch was like bigger than my entire house. Her husband was a retired stockbroker. I actually tried to negotiate with her as well, some more.
I want to take a pause from today's show to share something that I've been encountering. As I speak to many investors, there's this concern, and the concern is centered around the inflation we've been experiencing and the devaluation of our currency. Now, we've seen some of the highest inflationary periods over the past 30 years. That's up over 8%. Economists actually believe that inflation is closer to 20%. Some say it's even more. Now, what does this mean for you? Well, it means that money that is sitting in your bank account or self-directed IRA that's not invested in physical assets that hedge against inflation are losing buying power. That means that every minute, every second, that dollar is becoming less valuable. You see this every day. You see this in the groceries you buy, the gasoline you buy, everyday items that you're buying on a daily basis are becoming more and more expensive, and you're using a less powerful dollar to buy these items, meaning that dollar is losing value if it isn't put into a property that produces cash flow, just like real estate does. Now, our team here at Bulletproof Cash Flow has put together a series of weekly webinars that cover real estate investing like multifamily, net lease, and real estate development. Now, these are purely educational webinars. In these webinars, we talk about why real estate offers a powerful opportunity right now and why it makes sense to invest in these assets today. So if you're interested in real estate or want to have the opportunity to get involved as a hedge against inflation yourself, I encourage you to go to bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. That's bulletproofcashflow.com/webinars. Now you go there, these webinars are 45 minutes and they cover different topics every week. We go over the things you need to know to avoid some of the common pitfalls when it comes to investing while getting you prepared to invest your paper dollars into a real physical asset. Now, if you can't make the webinars, just go ahead and register and we will send you a recording that you can watch at any time. And by the way, these webinars are entirely free. There's no cost to you. This is just something that we do to educate our folks out there. So if you're enjoying this episode, please like and subscribe to Bulletproof Cash Flow. It helps the channel tremendously when you do. Now let's go ahead and get back to the show.
And at the end of the day, you can never talk someone into selling their property. It could be a house, it could be an apartment complex, whatever it is, at a discount without them being motivated. You know, you're not going to, like, if I'm selling my house today and everything is well and good, I'm going to list it on the MLS with a real estate agent and get the highest and best offer. Now, if I lost my job today and I got to move yesterday, or I'm in a huge rush, I'm going to call on these letters I get. And it's going to be basically calling a pawn shop. You take your Rolex to a pawn shop, you're not getting 100 cents on the dollar. You're not getting even 90% of what that Rolex is worth. You might get 10 cents on the dollar. So as far as ethical, you know, at the end of the day, we just make sure that they know, look, we're going to buy and sell this thing for a profit. Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to sell to me? Because I am an investor and I'm not going to live on this property. I'm not going to live on this piece of land. We're here to make a profit. And we're going to give you the best convenience and speed and service you're ever going to see. But here's what we do, and we're very transparent about it. So as far as ethical, I think if your seller knows exactly what your intentions are, sometimes they're like hooping and hooray for us, and they help us find the buyer. I've literally had people, sales or sellers, say, "Hey, the neighbor might want it. Call them." It's amazing. They just get behind what we're trying to do as long as we're up front. You know, have there been times where they're like, "Wait a minute, I thought you were the buyer"? No, that's when things like come back to bite us because we weren't upfront and honest 100%. Like we weren't clear with our intentions and showing them. It's kind of like you walk in the doctor's office. They walk in and stab you with a needle. You're going to punch that doctor in the face. But if the doctor says, hey, I got to take a little blood, I'm going to clean your arm, and then I'm going to use this little tiny needle, you're not even going to feel it, and then I'm going to put a little piece of gauze over it and then a little Band-Aid, you're not going to feel a thing. Like, okay, doc, take the blood. So we just make sure we do a good job explaining to the seller what we are up to.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the only way to do it, right? I mean, it's there are some of those people that try to hide the fact that they're wholesaling, at least single families anyway. And when they get caught, it's should say caught in a bad way, but when they get found out, I guess, or the seller understands what's going on, the seller seems to believe that they can do it themselves, right? Which, I mean, honestly, you are paying for a service, right? You're paying for the resolution of a problem that they're having. That's the gap. That's the value. That's the value, right? If you could have done it yourself, you would have done it yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like we just had an air conditioner installed, and it was like $7,000 for one of our air conditioners. And my buddy comes over the next day. He's like, "Oh man, you got ripped off. You should have called my friend." And I was thinking to myself, "No, I think I got a great deal. Go on that side of the house. It's super cold." And yeah, I'm sure I could have went and found the air conditioner, did it myself, but no way. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like I felt like I got a good deal.
That's right. That's right. I mean, there is value when you're helping someone out like that, So, how do you help people get into their first deal then? What's entailed in doing that?
Yeah, like say for instance, someone wanted to get involved in buying a piece of land and making a quick profit on it or a monthly payment. Is that what you mean? Like a new student, like someone listening to this one and get started?
Like a new student. Yeah. Like a new student.
Exactly like I said. Okay, I started out in my own backyard. I recommend starting out within about a 2 to 2.5 hour radius of where you currently live. And then let's see in that area where the land is trading, where the land is selling. Let's just look in the last 7 days on Zillow or Redfin. You could do this on either or. I prefer Redfin. So look in the last 7 days on Redfin where the land is selling. Okay, nothing's selling in the last 7 days. Let's bump it out to 30 days. All right, cool. There's 4 or 5 sales right there within like a couple blocks. Well, I'm going to click on each and every one of those, and I want to see like what size parcel is trading, and then for how much. Let's just say they're all 10,000 square foot parcels. 10,000. There's pretty small parcels of land, and each one is selling for 100, 110, 90. Let's just say only 3 sold. Well, I take 110, 100, and 90 and add it all up, and then divide it by 3. It's going to tell me the average is about $100,000 for a 10,000 square foot parcel. Well, next, I need to get a list of landowners that own 10,000 square foot parcels in that neighborhood. I can get it from PropStream, or I can go to the tax delinquent office, or I shouldn't call it the tax delinquent office, the county treasurer or the tax collector, and ask them for the tax delinquent list. What is that? Well, sometimes the county treasurer will ask, what do you mean? I want a list of people that are behind on their taxes. And then you want to kind of figure out what state you're in, if it's a tax deed state and a tax lien state. That's way too much for this podcast. But really what you're looking for is how many years can that homeowner or that landowner or that apartment complex owner go without paying those taxes? And then they lose that property, eventually becomes deed eligible, where someone can go in that's been paying those back taxes and foreclose on it. Once you figure that out, start mailing those people that are at that 3-year mark or that 4-year mark or whatever it is, 2-year mark. There's 2 ways to get in touch with landowners right there. PropStream is the easy button, or the tax delinquent list, which you're going to work a lot harder on that one. That's where I started. It was like pulling my hair out. And then you're going to send these people a letter. I call it a land offer letter. I give the letter out, for anybody that wants it, go to the landsharks.com/LOL as a land offer letter. And you can start mailing people offers today for their land. Let's just say you don't want to mail offers. You want to send a quick postcard. Well, write them a postcard saying, hey, I'll buy your land at 123 Main Street. If you're interested, call me or text me. God bless you. And that's the easy part. That's the easy part, actually getting in touch with landowners. The hard part is like making sure you don't spend too much on a parcel of land and or finding that buyer. How do you find the buyer? I like to find the buyer before I even sell the land. So once I get that purchase agreement, that person's under contract, I'm going to talk to my seller about this. I'm going to say, look, I'm going to market this thing everywhere. I'm going to put it on Craigslist. You might see people driving by. I'm going to talk to my real estate agent. I'm looking for a buyer before I actually go to the closing table and pay for this, because personally, I would like to use my buyer's funds. And we're finding them on Craigslist, Facebook, signs. Here's what's really cool. Neighbors will sometimes buy the land. And they've been wanting it for years, but they had no clue who the owner was.
Interesting. And then I think in that case, though, there's also a case of using owner financing, which you touched on earlier too. It's just another great way to acquire those assets. And I'm assuming you have all the contracts, all the materials, all that fun stuff to really get that going, right?
Oh yeah, we give those out. I just recommend people run this by your attorney in your state, your real estate attorney in your state. What if I don't have a real estate attorney? Well, Google sell my house fast where you're at. Sell my house fast, Colorado Springs. Call the top 3 people and see if they'll recommend a good real estate attorney to you. Right. Because, they've already went through the work to find that good one. So, why not, I hate to say ride on the success of their shoulders, but compress time frames.
That's just as good. All right. Can you talk a little bit about the TTP method? What is that?
That's Brent Daniels. I am with Wholesaling Inc. Brent Daniels owns Wholesaling Inc. Talk to people. TTP method is by actually calling landowners. It's like shooting fish in a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket, not button. But gosh, man, I ate a massive, huge, like Mexican lunch right before I got in here. I will never do that again. My words are like slurring. I'm just like drinking coffee here. But that's the TTP method. And if you're interested in that, like TTP is amazing. It's just dialing people. Like you make money when you get on that phone and start dialing. I prefer sitting up to mail offer letters because that's way more passive. I like spending time with my children. I like to be home when they get home from school. I like to be there for breakfast. So I still try and create this like a lifestyle business. Could I make a lot more money in land? Absolutely. But I have young children. That's the reason why I got into land. Yeah. Because I was tired of working so much and being away so much.
Yeah. And so now, do you ever get into land bank or any type of that type of land where it's land owned by the city?
No, I don't. I don't personally. I do not. Okay. And that's a whole nother avenue. I've dabbled in building new construction on parcels of land I've owned. What's really cool is when I partner with a builder and they build on land I own. I like that. See, I'm not the smartest guy. I know how to get land under contract and buy land at crazy massive discounts. All that other stuff, the development stuff, I leave that to guys like you.
It really is a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. Now, what would you say the best markets for land today are?
That's a great question. It's hard to say. I'm doing really well in Arizona and Colorado and Florida. I would say if you look on Redfin right now in Florida, you're going to see more demand, more solds happening in Florida in like the last 7 days than anywhere else. But places you wouldn't even think about it, I've got students doing really well like Idaho, Montana, New York, another place. I personally never bought or sold a piece of land in New York and got some guys crushing it out there. So I think why they're doing so well, it's because they live there. They're passionate about that area. And that's what allowed me to succeed so quickly in Colorado because ask my wife, just like everywhere I bought a lot of rural land in the very beginning. Like I didn't get in on the infill lot for like a year and a half. And that was quick, fast, good money. Like we did like our first assignment fee was like $74,000. And what's an assignment fee? I just got it under contract and assigned my contract to a cash buyer. But the rural land I would go and look at, I'd come home and be like, oh my God, we could keep this. We could build a cabin on it one day. And like the 5th or 6th time, my wife's like, how many freaking cabins do we need? Just sell it.
That's right. Well, excellent. So we covered a lot of stuff here today. What sort of bulletproof advice would you offer someone who's listening that maybe is kicking around getting into the land business?
All right. For your audience, I hope they're listening to this. Take action. You just got to take action. That's it. You give so much good advice here on bulletproof cash flow. You just got to pick that path that resonates with you and just go with it. The problem is there's so much noise out there. We've got YouTube University. We've got all these podcasts. You just got to take action. Don't be jumping around for every shiny object. And that's hard for visionaries and entrepreneurs. But it's just the thing that's allowed me to do well is just by taking action. You're never going to have all the answers. Like your headlights are only built for you to be able to see like 200 or 300 feet in front of you. And then you go around a corner and there they are. Tomorrow's answers will come for tomorrow. Today's are here. Just take action today and worry about today.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys, if you want to reach out to Brent, you can reach him via his website at thelandsharks.com. Hope you got some insight on how to get into your first deal. And really, reach out to Brent. He's got some great material on his site, and of course, great information on YouTube as well. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next episode.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, hit up bulletproofcashflow.com. Till next time.
No information in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are limited to accredited or sophisticated investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice.